Enough. The time for being an easily readable fool in this world is over. You are here because you have felt betrayed, exploited, or perhaps you are tired of failing to see the true intentions behind the masks. This is not a book about cheap parlor tricks. This is a severe and rigorous guide to power. It teaches you how to see what is unspoken, how to understand people's secret motivations, and how to use that knowledge to protect yourself and achieve your goals with nobility. Today, you will learn how to read human beings exactly as you would an open book. You will never be a victim again. Chapter 1. Stop being transparent. The devastating price of excessive honesty. Listen closely. Most people believe transparency is a virtue. They believe self-disclosure is the path to trust. That is utter nonsense. In this harsh world, transparency is not a virtue. Transparency is a weakness. It is a heavy burden placed around your neck. The more you reveal about yourself, the more you equip your rivals, your critics, and even your casual acquaintances with a free operational plan. A plan for your destruction. A plan for your exploitation. You have a choice. Either remain an open book that anyone can read and predict, or become an enigma. Choose the enigma. The first and most critical reason for failure is excessive clarity. You shout your goals before you begin. You announce your financial plans before you invest. You reveal your emotional pains and weaknesses to people you barely know. This is the key. Power is not in what you do, but in what people believe you are capable of doing. If everyone knows your next move, you have no advantage. You have no leverage. You don't need their permission to start, and you don't need their approval to remain silent. You do not owe anyone an explanation of your intentions. This is not hypocrisy. It is survival strategy in the major leagues. Remember this well. Concealment is power. Clarity is a burden. Repeat this phrase in your mind until it is etched upon your consciousness. Every piece of information you reveal is a currency lost, a currency that can never be recovered. Let's analyze the mask effect. We are not talking about wearing a fake mask. We are talking about maintaining a quiet mystery. This mystery automatically elevates your value in the eyes of others. When your emotional face maintains a calm, stable face mask, others become intensely focused on interpreting what is going on in your mind. This is the essence of power. You force them to speculate. You force them to emotionally invest in trying to read you, while you are content to merely observe. People are drawn to what they cannot fully comprehend. If you lay all your cards on the table, they have nothing left to seek. You don't need their permission to be quiet, and you don't need to justify your silence. Many mistake mystery for coldness. It's not about coldness, it's about discipline. Emotional discipline commands respect. Excessive transparency breeds pity or contempt. You're here to command respect. Think about your weaknesses, your frustrations, your old pains. When and where did you reveal them? Perhaps you revealed them in a moment of vulnerability, seeking sympathy. This is your fatal error. The moment you reveal your weak spot, that information turns into ammunition for your adversary. They know exactly where to push. They know exactly when you will break. Many make the mistake of using social media platforms as confession arenas. This is not therapy. This is self-destruction. You are digitally archiving your vulnerability for eternity. Stop doing that now. You have a choice. Stop treating the world like your therapist. It's not about sadness. It's about discipline. Discussing your pain must be limited to a very small, trusted circle, not the entire world. How do you begin this transformation? Through 3 strict steps. Enforce emotional calm. Learn not to display immediate reactions. Do not celebrate excessively, and do not get excessively angry. Be a rock. When someone asks you a personal question, reply with, "That's a complex topic," or "I'm quietly working on it." You have a choice to respond calmly instead of reacting. Build walls of intention. Do not disclose your major goals until they are fully accomplished. Stop proving yourself and start working. When people ask about your plans, say, "I don't want to ruin the surprise, but it will be a big step." Nothing is more captivating than work done in absolute silence that announces itself through achievement. Master the generic answer. When discussing your opinions, avoid personal details that could be used against you. Speak in generalities, in philosophies, in principles, but keep your internal experience and personal accounts hidden. You don't need their permission to know that your information belongs only to you. Remember the core phrase, always keep them guessing. Never allow them the comfort of being certain about what you are thinking or feeling. If you are predictable, you are controllable. This is the first lesson in power. Control over self-disclosure is the foundation. It is the difference between who leads and who is led. It's not about fear, it's about discipline. You have mastered the principle of concealment. You know that transparency is a weakness. Now let's talk about the most valuable tool people possess for revealing themselves. Chapter 2. The Silent Truth. Decoding body language in the first 7 seconds. The time for naivete is over. You learned in the last chapter that clarity is a burden. You have trained yourself to conceal your intentions, but there is a greater problem you now face. Your body lies to you, and your opponent's body lies to them too. This is the key. The body never lies, if you know how to read it. Humans are adept at crafting words. They practice verbal lies and false promises their whole lives. But they are failures at controlling their bodies. The crucial percentage is 93%. 93% of communication is not words, but tone of voice, gestures, and movements. You're wasting 93% of the information in this world if you only focus on what comes out of a person's mouth. You have a choice. Either remain a superficial listener or become a sharp-eyed observer who sees the hidden contradictions. Choose the sharp observation. Let's assume someone says to you, "I am very happy with the deal." But while saying it, they touch their neck or shift their foot toward the room exit. Pay attention to the contradiction. This is hidden conflict. When non-conscious body language contradicts conscious spoken words, you must trust the body. The body reveals the silent truth. A gesture aimed at self-soothing, like touching the neck, indicates anxiety. A movement toward the exit indicates a desire to escape. You do not owe them trust in their words. You owe yourself the truth. You don't need their permission to question their sincerity. Rather, skepticism should be the default mode until their body language proves otherwise. Remember this well. Observe what they do, not what they say. This is the core phrase that will save your investments, relationships, and mental peace. Crucial impressions are formed during the first 7 seconds of an interaction. These are not just seconds. They are an opportunity for you to gather critical data. Greater than star stance and presence. Does the person stand upright or lean? Leaning or slouching suggests a lack of self-confidence or submission. Presence is embodied in a stable, upright stance. Eye contact. Is their gaze calm and steady, or does it wander, searching for an escape or approval? A steady, calm gaze indicates self-confidence and control of the frame. Feet and exits. This is the most important technique. If a person's feet are pointed toward the exit or away from you, their subconscious mind wants to end the interaction. Even if they are smiling and saying, "I'm enjoying this." You must trust the feet. You must train your eye to be a scanner. Look first at the base, feet, then the center of power, body, then the face, where lying is manipulated. It's not about kindness, it's about discipline in observation. Some expressions are universal and cannot be faked. You must learn to see greater than asterisk contempt. This is the only expression that signals moral superiority. It appears as a partial raising of one side of the mouth, a half smile. This expression is a clear red flag and means the person looks down upon you. Leakage, micro-expressions. Quick facial expressions, fractions of a second, that appear and disappear, revealing true emotions before the conscious mind can control them. If you see a quick flash of fear followed by a forced smile, they are afraid. You have a choice. Either ignore these signals and continue in your naivete, or use them as an early warning to lower your trust. Choose the warning. Greater than, do not confront them directly with what you saw. That is not your goal. Your goal is to gather data and make decisions based on the complete truth, not on the fabricated narrative. How to apply quiet observation. Enforce self-calm. First, you cannot read contradictions if you are emotionally agitated yourself. Breathe deeply before every interaction. It's not about sensitivity, it's about discipline. Establish the baseline. Observe the person when they talk about neutral topics, weather, sports. This is the baseline of their natural behavior. When they deviate from this line while discussing a deal or a decision, that is the hidden conflict. Use silence as a tool. Ask a difficult question and then be silent. Let the silence force them to fill the void, and they often resort to body language when words fail to support them. Remember the core phrase, observe what they do, not what they say. The body is the honest translator of a person's soul. You have mastered reading the body. You know that words are merely a cover. But what drives this body? What is the true currency people pay for their decisions? Chapter 3. The Law of Emotional Value. How to identify a person's hidden need for admiration or fear. You have advanced beyond naivete. You have tightened your grip on your own secret intentions, and you are capable of reading your opponent's body. But all this is not enough. To become a true reader of people, you must delve beyond appearance. You must understand the true currency people pay for their decisions. People are not moved by logic, they are moved by motivation. And the great motivations of human beings are always emotional, divided into two primary poles and no third: the desire for reward or the urgent need to avoid pain. This is the law that governs every deal, every relationship, and every decision humanity makes. This is the key. The masterful reader does not ask, what do they want, but asks, what do they desperately want to gain, and what do they desperately fear losing? You have a choice. Either continue to deal with people based on what they say, superficial logic, or based on what moves them, emotional motivation. Choose the emotional motivation. Let's analyze this powerful law. Every behavior, no matter how random or illogical it seems, can be traced back to these two poles. Reward, seeking pleasure. This is the motivation for achievement, praise, gaining social status, feeling superior, or belonging. A person led by the reward motive seeks to add something to their life. Pain, avoiding pain. This is the motivation to avoid humiliation, financial loss, rejection, feeling shame, or criticism. A person led by the pain motive seeks to protect what they have or escape an uncomfortable situation. You do not need to be a therapist to determine this. You need to be a strict analyst. It's not about empathy, it's about discipline in observation. Remember the core phrase, what do they desperately want to gain, and what do they desperately fear losing? The answer to this question is the key to controlling any interaction. Many people give up their basic needs, like financial security or stability, in pursuit of a false higher need, social validation, admiration. This is our concept of the inverted Maslow's compass. Ordinarily, People should satisfy their basic needs first. But in today's world, many are willing to give up saving, incur debt, or even risk their reputation to get an immediate dose of admiration, either by showing off their possessions or by over-disclosing themselves. When you determine that a person's motivation is the need for admiration, you hold the leverage. You can either strategically grant that admiration in exchange for what you want, noble manipulation, or withdraw that admiration to make them comply with your terms. You don't need their permission to understand this vulnerability. You must use it responsibly. Greater than fear is the strongest human motivator. Fear of criticism, fear of loneliness, fear of being seen as a failure. When someone makes a quick or illogical decision, they are likely driven by the engine of fear. The real-world example. If your business partner makes quick, rash decisions to avoid a meeting with a senior authority, their fear of confrontation or failure is greater than their concern for work accuracy. This is the key. This is not a lack of logic. It is the dominance of fear. You do not owe them help if they have not asked, but your understanding of their fear prevents you from falling victim to their haste. You have a choice. Either let them panic or enforce your own frame of calm to take control of the situation. It's not about manipulation. It's about discipline in using your information to stabilize reality. How to apply the law of emotional value practically. Reverse engineer the request. When someone presents you with a request or an offer, do not focus on the request itself. Ask yourself, what is the true emotional motivation behind this request? Is it an attempt to gain a reward recognition or avoid pain potential failure? Negotiate the emotional currency. Do not just negotiate the price or material terms. Negotiate what matters to them emotionally. If the motive is admiration, make your solution seem like the greatest achievement. If the motive is fear, make your solution seem like the ultimate protection. Never fill the void for free. If someone is seeking validation or admiration, never grant it for free. Make them earn it. This raises its value and ensures the person respects your time. Never pay for what you should get for free. Respect. The time for guessing is over. You now know how to read body language and how to identify what drives the soul. You now possess the emotional compass, but acquired knowledge must be used. How do you extract more facts without asking for them? Chapter 4. The Dark Mirror. The noble manipulation technique for eliciting information. You have mastered the control of your emotions and the reading of hidden motivations. But the real battle in this world is fought with information. How do you extract valuable facts from others without appearing nosy, or worse, without directly asking them for it? People trust those who are similar to them. This is a fundamental human truth. If you look, talk, and act in a way that is familiar and safe to them, their defensive barriers naturally drop. They become ready to disclose themselves. This is the key. The technique of mirroring and matching makes you appear as a clear reflection of their identity. You are not faking it, you are intelligently adapting. This is noble manipulation, borrowing a person's language to gain trust, then using that trust to achieve a higher goal. You have a choice. Either remain a stranger that no one trusts, or master the language of others to unlock the doors of truth. Choose to master their language. Greater than mirroring goes beyond simply imitating body language. It is subtle social engineering. You must reflect three main elements. Micro-gestures. If they slightly tilt their head while listening, slightly tilt yours. If they use specific hand gestures, like counting on their fingers, use the same style. This creates an unconscious rapport. It's not about mimicry, it's about discipline in precise observation. Tone and pace of voice. Are they speaking slowly, calmly and confidently. You should lower your tone and speak at the same speed. If they are excited and speaking fast, slightly increase your pace. This is called the backtracking technique, and it builds a super-fast auditory bridge. Linguistic terms. Use their specific vocabulary. If they are preoccupied with talking about operational efficiency, you should also use those words instead of your own. This shows you are on the same mental boat. You don't need their permission to use their own language. Remember this well. Be silent, copy, and watch how they reveal themselves. When people feel completely comfortable, they become talkative, offering you valuable information without realizing it. The biggest mistake novice readers make is feeling compelled to fill any silence. When you get an answer, do not immediately continue talking. The repetitive phrase, "Calmness is power, excessive talking is a weakness." Ask a powerful open-ended question, e.g., "And how did that truly affect you?" Oh. Then be completely silent. Maintain calm, steady eye contact. The majority of people are uncomfortable with silence. They will feel an urgent need to fill that void, and in their attempt to fill the silence, they will often disclose the unintended, additional information you are seeking. This is the key. Do not press them. Let the pressure come from the silence itself. You have a choice. Either talk and distort the data, or be silent and listen to the truth that leaks out. When you begin applying mirroring, you will find that a person's resistance decreases. But you must also read the signs of resistance. When do they back away from mirroring? When you start approaching their pain zone or insecurity zone. If they were perfectly reflecting your body language, then suddenly put up a barrier, like crossing their arms. That is a direct signal. Stop asking questions in this area. The revisiting signal. If a person has to revise their answer 3 times or repeat the same point with different details, they are likely trying to convince themselves or you of the story. This is not proof of lying, but it is proof that something is unstable in the narrative. You don't need their permission to notice they are uncomfortable. That is your duty as an observer. You have a choice in any conversation. Either be the one being read, or be the one creating the environment for data collection. Mirroring and matching is a noble way to open people up. It does not manipulate them against their will. It merely makes them feel safe enough to reveal their true motivations. Power without principle is just violence. Use it with nobility. You have now mastered how to make them reveal themselves. But what should you do about those people who constantly seek attention from you? Chapter 5. The silent cost of seeking validation. How attention seekers exploit you. Listen closely now. On your journey to power and mental toughness, you will encounter a type of person who acts like a black hole, sucking up your energy and achievements. They are the validation seekers, or as we call them in this book, the emotional fuel thieves. A person who constantly seeks external validation is a predictable vulnerability. They rely on your approval, your praise, or even just your reaction to determine their self-worth. This is the key. When you grant them this fuel for free, you grant them control over your energy. The repetitive phrase, "You don't need their permission to determine your worth." And this applies to you and to them as well. You have a choice. Either remain a free donor of attention, granting it to the weak without compensation, or master the art of withholding emotional fuel and saving your energy for your grand goals. Choose the strategic conservation of energy. The validation seeker often wears the victim illusion. They use excessive vulnerability, constant complaining or exaggeration of their crises to obtain one thing, your sympathy and attention. This is not evidence of genuine pain, but a tactic to gain privileges or evade responsibility. The core argument. When you offer sympathy or flattery easily, you create a negative feedback loop. You are rewarding weak behavior, and every time a behavior is rewarded, it repeats. Remember, do not fall for the trap. The real-world example, the colleague who constantly complains about their excessive workload but rejects any real help. They don't want the problem solved. They want you to listen and feel sorry for them, which makes them feel special. It's not about kindness. It's about discipline in setting priorities. Your priority is your achievements, not managing the moods of others. If you decide to exit this game, you must adopt a strict strategy. The neutral response. Avoid automatic flattery. When they achieve something, respond with, "That was expected," or "That's a good start." Avoid excessive or dazzling compliments. Diminish the emotional value of the result. Compliments must be rare, valuable, and hard-earned. Quickly, shift focus. When they start complaining or exaggerating about themselves, quickly pivot the conversation to a practical topic or to questions about them that require short answers, not dramatic stories. E.g., "That's interesting. By the way, have you finished the X report?" Do not engage emotionally. If they try to pull you into an emotional or dramatic debate, respond with cold logic. E.g., if they say, "You don't care about me," reply, "That's an emotional statement. Let's stick to the facts. What exactly is required of you right now?" Remember the core phrase, never pay for what you should get for free. Respect. Respect is earned through action, not drama. Validation seekers not only steal attention, but they also steal your time through long calls, endless meetings, and unproductive chatter. Your time is your most valuable currency. You have a choice to use clear, non-negotiable boundaries. Predetermine the duration of interactions. E.g., "I have exactly 10 minutes for this topic." If the conversation deviates, strictly bring it back to the set path. You don't need their permission to set your boundaries. Your boundaries are a declaration of your self-worth. If you don't respect your time, no one else will. It's not about being cold. It's about discipline. The conclusion: you cannot be powerful and naive at the same time. Ceasing to fund the shallow emotional needs of others frees your energy to achieve your profound goals. Let them seek their fuel elsewhere. You're not a free gas station. You have now stopped your energy bleed. You have established a wall between yourself and the validation seekers, but life is full of complexity. How do you avoid future pitfalls? You must start predicting. Chapter 6. Social Navigation, the art of predicting a person's next move. Listen closely now. You have transitioned from a mere reactor to a predictor. But ultimate power is not in reaction. Ultimate power is in prediction. This is the key. People do not make random decisions. Their actions repeat and follow patterns that are predictable once you identify their behavioral fingerprint. You must think like a master chess player, seeing 5 steps ahead while your opponent sees only 1. The repetitive phrase, "Repeated actions are prophecies." Do not ignore a person's behavioral history. You have a choice. Either wait for the blow to come and react to it, or see the blow forming on the horizon and avoid it before it is launched. Choose proactive prediction. To understand how someone will act under pressure in the future, you must study their past. This is liberation history, how people behave when their principles are tested, or when the stakes are high. Ask yourself, how do they act when they make a mistake? Do they blame others? This means they will abandon you at the first crisis. Do they silently retreat and evade responsibility? This means they are unreliable for major achievements. Do they admit the mistake and work to fix it? This is the only sign of mental toughness. If someone betrayed you once in a small situation, they are prepared for a greater betrayal when the stakes are higher. There is no small betrayal and major betrayal. There is only a consistent behavioral pattern. You don't need their permission to trust their track record. You must trust it more than their momentary promises. It's not about forgiveness, it's about discipline in risk assessment. Prediction is not just about knowing intentions, it's about knowing where the system will collapse. You must look for personality gaps that will lead to irrational decisions under pressure. Chronic jealousy. If they resent the success of others, they will sabotage yours. Desperate need for money without recognition. This is the fatal weak spot. If their financial or emotional motivation is the sole driver, they will sell out their principles at the first opportunity. Inability to admit fault. This reveals a lack of maturity. A person who cannot say, "I was wrong," is a person whose judgment cannot be trusted in a major project. This is the key. Once you identify the gap, you can predict with 80% accuracy how they will behave when exposed to stress that exceeds the capacity of that gap to endure. Stop being naive about clear history. When you are about to make an important decision about someone, apply the dual scenario technique. Scenario number 1. Ideal prediction. How will this person behave if things go perfectly and we succeed? They will show support. They will smile. Scenario number 2. Real prediction. How will this person behave if a catastrophic mistake occurs and blame is directed at them? They will flee. They will accuse others. They will disappear. You must base your decisions only on scenario number 2. If their performance in the worst-case scenario is unacceptable, you should not allow them into the first scenario. You have a choice to deal with the best-case scenario or to protect yourself from the worst-case scenario. Choose protection. Greater than remember the core phrase. The past is prologue to the future. Ignoring this warning means you are summoning disaster by your own will. You have now mastered social navigation. You can predict who will abandon ship and when, but prediction is not enough. You must control your environment. You must enforce your terms on reality. Chapter 7. Frame control. A technique for imposing your terms without conflict. You have transitioned from a mere reactor to a predictor. But prediction must lead to action. The most powerful action of all is not direct attack, but frame control. The frame is the psychological and behavioral definition of reality in any interaction. It is the setting of the unstated rules for the interaction. This is the key. The one who sets the frame is the one who controls it. If you allow the other person to set the terms, the agenda, or the emotional boundaries, you have already lost the battle before it began. The repetitive phrase, frame control, is reality control. If you don't control the frame, you will live within someone else's frame. You have a choice. Either constantly react to the rules set by others, or quietly impose your rules. Choose to impose your rules. People often try to impose a negative frame on you. For example, they label you as ruthless or untrusting. Their goal is to make you defend yourself within their frame. The beginner's mistake. Accepting this frame and starting to defend oneself, saying, "I'm not ruthless, I'm just cautious." With this answer, you have accepted the negative frame. The powerful act, reframing the criticism. When faced with aggressive criticism, do not accept it. Instead, redirect it with a calm, neutral question that shifts the focus of the discussion away from you and back onto them. Greater than example. Your use of ruthless is interesting. What makes you feel the need to use that specific description in a business conversation? You don't need their permission to change the axis. You're imposing a new frame, the frame of calm analysis instead of the frame of emotional accusation. This changes the entire game. It's not about stubbornness, it's about discipline. Greater than frame control is not limited to words. It starts with the physical environment. Location. Hold meetings on your home turf as much as possible. When you are in a familiar environment, your confidence automatically rises and their anxiety drops. If you cannot, make the choice of location completely neutral. Start and end. The one who starts and ends the meeting is the one who controls it. Start by setting the agenda with firm statements. Example: we have 30 minutes and we will discuss 3 specific points. 1, 2, 3. We will not deviate. Then, when the time is up, end the meeting with a clear, calm decision. E.g., all right, that's it. Our time is up. I will follow up at specific time. Remember the core phrase, never accept the frame your opponent sets for you. Start every interaction by imposing your own frame for time, topic, and expected outcome. The strong leader does not concede essential points. They concede peripheral points to enforce control over the core points. This is also part of frame control. When the other party makes a small request, 5 extra minutes of discussion, you can accept it slowly, the concession, but you impose something greater in return, the frame. Fine, I'll grant you 5 extra minutes, but on the condition that we start right now with a decisive decision on point, with no further general discussion. You are controlling the outcome here. You do not give anything for free. You use the concession as leverage to impose your own frame on decision-making. You have a choice to negotiate everything, or to use peripheral concessions to ensure victory on the greater goal. The conclusion. Power is not a fight. Power is the architecture that defines the shape of the fight before it begins. Do not wait for others to give you control. Take it quietly by imposing the frame. This is the discipline that separates the leader from the follower. You have mastered how to control your environment, but you must protect yourself from a tireless enemy. Information disclosure. Chapter 8. How to speak without revealing anything. The skill of the vague answer. You have realized that transparency is a burden and silence is a strategy. But in this world, you cannot remain silent forever. You must speak, interact, and participate in discussions. The question is, how do you talk for a long time without providing any information that can be used against you? The repetitive phrase, power is not in the information you reveal, but in the information you withhold. Every extra word spoken is a calculated risk. This is the key. You must master the skill of the vague answer. This is the art of speaking in general principles and broad philosophies, avoiding personal details or exact figures that give others leverage. You have a choice. Either empty your quiver in every conversation, or make your words seem dense but your information scarce. Choose scarcity of information. Many people confuse participation in a discussion with self-disclosure. When you are asked for your opinion on a project, a plan, or even your personal situation, the optimal response is not to provide a step-by-step action plan. The powerful act. Responding with a general principle. Example: instead of saying, I will invest $50,000 in real estate in the first quarter, say, I believe in investing in tangible assets that are characterized by long-term stability. You speak for a longer period, appearing collaborative and intelligent, yet you have not revealed your investment size, location, or exact start date. You're talking about the methodology and not the data. You don't need their permission for them to feel you are answering clearly. Clarity here lies in the principle, not the manifestation. It's not about lying, it's about discipline in protecting your strategic secrets. When you want to extract information from someone, you must get them to talk about themselves. and the vague answer is the perfect tool to shift focus away from you and onto them. The tactic: respond to a direct question with a generalization followed by a sharp question back at them. Greater than example: when asked, "How are your financial results looking?" Respond: "I believe true progress is not measured by the last quarter only, but by continuity over years. But what I find truly interesting is how you managed to achieve that shift in sales. How did you do that?" In this way, you answered with a sentence that sounds profound: continuity over years. You did not reveal a single financial figure. You used strategic flattery, I find truly interesting, to open them up and compel them to talk about themselves. Remember this well: the more they talk, the more information they provide you. And the less you talk, the greater your prestige. You must train yourself to rephrase questions that contain fatal details. Do not answer yes or no to a question that could harm you later. If you are asked a question that contains details you do not want to reveal, rephrase the question before answering. Example: question: will you launch your new product in March as planned? Answer: I think the more important question is not about the exact launch date, but about ensuring the quality of the final product. And that is our focus now. You have a choice. Either give them an exact historical answer they can use later to accuse you of failure, or impose the frame of quality over the frame of time. You are not lying here. You are controlling the narrative. The conclusion: the skill of the vague answer is a leader's skill. It allows you to be present in the room, participating in the discussion, but maintaining absolute sovereignty over your own information. Make your words dense and your information scarce. This is the essence of quiet power. You have now become a master of silent speech. You control what you say and what you do not say. But the final step in your journey is to make yourself an unbreakable enigma. Chapter 9. The ultimate power: becoming unreadable. Yourself. You have reached the turning point. You have learned to read, and now you must learn how to prevent others from reading you. The highest level of mastery is not in understanding others, but in making yourself an enigma that cannot be solved. The repetitive phrase, mystery creates prestige. If you are predictable, you are controllable. If you are an enigma, you are a force to be reckoned with. This is the key. You must adopt absolute emotional stability. Emotional detachment is not weakness. It is a shield that grants you the highest value in any social or business interaction. No one should ever truly know what is going on in your mind. You have a choice. Either remain susceptible to external circumstances, or become the steady force around which events revolve. Choose absolute stability. How do you become unreadable? By eliminating the expression of tension or agitation. A leader never shows they are under pressure, even when the stakes are extremely high. The real-world example. Think of the hardest moments you have faced. In those moments, if you maintained a calm tone of voice, a steady speech pace, and neutral facial expressions, you confounded your opponents. They expect panic, and agitation is the currency they usually pay with. But you refused to play by their rules. You don't need their permission to remain calm. That is your right to internal control. It's not about fear, it's about discipline in maintaining your composure under the most extreme conditions. You must establish boundaries of calm around yourself. Do not allow dazzling success to lift you to the skies, making you careless, and do not allow crushing failure to destroy you, making you ineffective. Stay in the middle. Readability stems from patterns. People understand your behavioral patterns. When you are happy, when you get angry, how you negotiate. To become unreadable, you must introduce permanent contrast into your behavior. calculated surprises. Do something unexpected once in a while. For example, if you are known for your strictness, surprise someone with a small, unprompted positive gesture. This resets their expectations and makes them question your motivations. Strategic withdrawal. Withdraw from some discussions or meetings you always participated in without a clear reason. Your absence will create value. They will wonder why, and this confusion is a form of leverage. Remember this well. Always keep them guessing. Never allow them the comfort of fully understanding your personality. They must remain in a state of perpetual search for your truth. You cannot be unreadable if you do not understand your own triggers. This is not a call for emotional introspection, but a call for strict self-analysis. What words trigger your anger? What compliments make you compromise your principles? When and where are you most likely to make poor decisions? You must know these answers first, then build defenses around these weak points. An unreadable person is someone who knows their vulnerabilities and has built genuine protective barriers around them. The conclusion: the ultimate power is the power of self-freedom. You are free because no one can predict you or push your buttons. When you become an enigma yourself, you force the world to deal with you on your terms, not theirs. Read yourself before reading others. You have mastered reading others and reading yourself. You have become a machine of disciplined power. But now comes the crucial ethical question. How do you use this weapon? Chapter 10. Noble Manipulation. Using this science to elevate others with honor. You have now acquired a power that most people do not possess. You have become a master of reading intentions, decoding motivations, controlling the frame, and making yourself unreadable. But power alone is not enough. If you use these skills merely for control and harm, you will be just another exploiter. This is the key. Your goal is not to become a manipulative villain. Your goal is to become a noble reader. You use these skills for protection, for achieving your highest goals, and for helping to elevate others. The repetitive phrase, "Power without principle is just violence," use it with nobility. You have a choice. Either use this weapon against the weak, or use it to elevate the strong and help the deserving. Choose nobility and responsibility. Your understanding of motivations, fear, and reward can become the strongest building tool in your hand. Identify fear as a barrier. When you see a talented person failing to make an important decision, you now know that the motivation is not laziness, but fear. Use your reading to pinpoint the roots of their fear: fear of failure, fear of public scrutiny. Positive frame manipulation. Instead of pressuring them, reframe the situation. Do not say, "You need to work harder to succeed." Say, "Let's just focus on mastering step 1. We don't need to discuss the final outcome right now. Let's protect ourselves from burnout." This is noble manipulation that temporarily removes the barrier of fear. You are using reading techniques to identify the psychological obstacle, then using frame techniques to dismantle it. It's not about ownership, it's about discipline in guidance. We learned how to withhold emotional fuel from validation seekers, but there are people who deserve this recognition and validation, and they need it to fuel their good work. Remember the rule. Do not grant recognition for free. Make it earned. The noble act. When you see someone working hard in silence, give them the recognition they deserve. Not so you can benefit from them, but to fuel their positive pattern. This reinforces productive behavior and stabilizes it. You don't need their permission to channel your energy in a positive direction. You recognize that strategic encouragement of the right person is an investment in the success of your entire environment. How do you know you have crossed the line? When your primary goal in reading someone becomes harming them, or controlling them without mutual benefit, or stealing something from them. The noble reader aims for protection, guarding themselves and their resources from exploiters. Clean negotiation, knowing the motivations to negotiate on solid, stable ground that benefits both parties. Guidance, helping committed but fearful people see their potential. Remember the core phrase, always keep them guessing about your intentions, but let your actions speak of your principles. The conclusion, you have been handed a superpower. This is the ultimate guide to human psychology. Power in this world goes to those who see it and use it intelligently. Do not return to your old life, where you were ignorant. Begin now to live the life of the noble reader, the calm observer, and the unreadable force. It is finished. This is not the end of your journey. This is the true starting point of your control. An hour and a half, perhaps 2 hours, of harsh truths that have revealed human psychology to you. You now know that transparency is a weakness and mystery is your shield. You have learned to read feet before words and to identify fear before logic. The final core phrase is, knowledge alone changes nothing. Do not deceive yourself. These principles were not made just to be heard, but to be applied and lived. That is the only difference between the amateur and the professional. Power goes to those who see it and use it. Your challenge now is to re-listen to this entire audiobook once more. Choose only 3 techniques, 3 chapters, and begin applying them in your daily interactions within the next 48 hours. Do not hesitate. Do not contemplate. Go out and apply this immediately. Be the reader, not the read. Power awaits you.